Good afternoon, and welcome to the People's Economic Summit. Now, why this People's Economic Summit? And why did the United Nations General Assembly plan to hold a special international conference of the G192? In other words, all the countries of the world, not just a handful of the big powers organized by the biggest banks. There's a desperate international crisis, an emergency that's destroying the lives and the future of millions of people, even as we meet. And it's a crisis that's so dire, there's no solution, and there's no end in sight. The capitalist economy is in a glut of overproduction. Too many cars, too much food, too many homes, too much electronic equipment. And what does that mean? It means it creates famine, devastation, massive shutdowns, layoffs, homelessness, whole economies in a meltdown. The Bail Out the People movement is a network of resistance here in the U.S. that's been attempting in actions large and small to challenge the fraud that giving billions, and then tens of billions, and then hundreds of billions, and then trillions of dollars to the banks who are responsible for and who've benefited from these ruinous policies, that giving our entire futures into the hands of the banks will help millions of working people whose lives are being destroyed. And we say, no, that is not the solution. We need a movement that is about confronting the foreclosures, stopping the evictions, protesting the endless war, and challenging the rule of the banks.
Firstly, to express congratulations to the organizers for being able to mobilize the session. I saw all the intense panel discussions going on. But also to bring the greetings of the President of the General Assembly, who would have himself wished to have been here.
Our plenary is a new word is needed, and I want to add a new word is needed urgently. And as Compañero Blake said, we have to go beyond the consensus of Washington. We need a new word where healthcare, education, where housing, where food are available and are basic human rights, where jobs are available for everybody. We need a new word that is based in solidarity. And today, we speak on behalf of the peoples of those 192 countries that were prevented from speaking their minds tomorrow and through the June 3rd in the UN Conference on Economic and Financial Crisis and its impact on development. That is very important. And we're standing also today in solidarity with the peoples of Haiti, with the peoples of Palestine, with the peoples from Colombia to Pakistan, from Iraq to Afghanistan. We are standing with all those who have been the victims of wars. And it's two wars. The wars that have been by bombed and by shooting and by massacres and by tortures, but also the other war that is the war by the bomb of the economic crisis, that has brought devastation all over the world, including right here in the United States.
And if we can't see by now that this global economic system or non-system of exploitation that we've had doesn't work, it's not that it's broke, you can't fix it, it doesn't work. You got to start with a new system.
As the economic crisis continues to take its toll on the workers, on the poor, on the oppressed, peoples with so much more unemployment, the massive layoffs, the underemployment, the foreclosures, the evictions, and much more, the role of the state will expose its repressive hand in ways that will be an eye-opening experience for the broader masses of people in this country, not just, the activists, but for people who are just trying to survive in this society.
The planned UN meeting on the financial and economic crisis that was supposed to take place tomorrow, and now maybe it's taking place later on in June. I think a lot of people, even people who are not aware of it, owe a debt of gratitude to Miguel de Soto Brockman, the President of the UN General Assembly. This brother had the audacity, along with his supporters in Venezuela and Cuba and Bolivia, a few other places, to say, look at this world crisis of the capitalist system. This should be a perfect opportunity for us to open up the question of how the system is run and who runs it. And to use the United Nations not only as a talk shop, but to use the UN to democratize, at least a little bit, control over the economy. And the imperialists said, hell no. We ain't coming. We'll undermine it. We'll discredit it. We'll boycott it. We'll weaken it. And that's one of the reasons why it's not happening tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting struggle for the next 3 weeks to see what actually happens on June 24th.
What does it all mean? You've got to get rid of the profit system altogether. That's the problem. And the only way out of it is for these great things that were all created by the workers, these means of health care, the means of creating automobiles and transportation, the means of creating clothing, hospital care, everything. We created it. We need to own it. We need to get rid of the General Motors, the pharmaceutical companies, and all the parasites that live off our labor, and take it into our own hands, use it for the benefit of humanity. And while I'm at it, use it for solidarity with the rest of the world, and begin with reparations for all that U.S. imperialism has stolen from this planet. And begin by saying that all workers have rights wherever they come from. They're workers, and that gives them equal rights to everything that all workers have. There's no such thing as borders in the workers' struggle. And finally, we need to tear down this prison system, this racist prison system, and disarm the racist cops and all of them that are responsible for enforcing the profit system. That means socialism, socialism, socialism.
Everybody sitting here is already an activist. Everybody sitting here knows how they became an activist. I'm going to ask you to think real hard when you leave here. What sparked you to be involved? And then use that in terms of going out to the community to multiply ourselves 1,000-fold. Each one of us must multiply ourselves, because we're not going to build a movement unless there's more people in motion. We have a lot of good, courageous people here, and we just have to spark a greater movement.